Hello students, I am Dr. Papuri Kolita, Assistant Professor in English, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Assam Downtown University. Today we are going to discuss on the topic voice. Voice in English grammar. What is voice? Let us know about voice. The voice of a verb tells whether the subject of the sentence performs or receives the action. In English, there are two voices, active voice and passive voice. So, voice is basically related to the verb, and the verb, voice of the verb tells about the sentence and the subject of the sentence, whether the verb performs or the subject performs or the or it receives. Now let us know what are the two types of voices. Before that, let us discuss about uh, what happens in academic writing. In academic writing, it's generally preferred to choose an active verb and pair it with a subject that names the person or thing doing or performing the action. In case of academic writing, like when you write an essay, a research paper, then mostly it is preferred that active verb is used. Active verbs are stronger and usually more emphatic than forms of the verb. Be verbs or verbs in the passive voice. So, in case of academic writing, the preferred voice is active voice. Now, let us discuss about the two voices, active and passive voice. What are active voice? What is active voice? In active voice, the subject performs the action expressed by the verb. For example, the student wrote a song. So, in active voice, the subject performs the action. You need to remember this, that in active voice, the subject performs the action. What happens in passive voice? In passive voice, the subject receives the action expressed by the verb. So here, as you see that the verb performs the action undoubtedly, but it depends on the action of the verb whether the subject performs or receives. In active voice, the subject performs. However, in passive voice, the subject receives. For example, let us look at the same example we have taken up in active voice. The example was, the student wrote a song. And what will the same sentence become? What form will it take when we change the voice into passive? The sentence will be like, a song was written by the student. So here the subject becomes the receiver. In passive voice, the subject receives the action. Whereas in active voice, the subject performs the action. Now, let us look at some example. The way in which voice change can be changed without changing the meaning of the sentence can be understood by the following example. So students, here you need to remember that when you change the sentence from active to passive voice, you cannot change the meaning of the sentence. The form of the sentence may change from active to passive, but the meaning of the sentence cannot be changed. Neither here, one rule you need to also remember that the tense of the sentence also cannot be changed. It will remain the same. The tense what in whatever form of the tense, in whatever type of the tense, the sentence in active voice is written cannot be changed while when you change the active voice to passive. Now let us look at this example. The award-winning chef prepares each meal with loving care. The same sentence we are going to make passive. What form will it take? Let us check. Each meal is prepared. Here you need to know that is prepared is, although prepared is considered to be past, but by putting in this verb is, this with this auxiliary verb, the actual verb becomes present. So prepares, is prepared are present. So the uh, tense has not been changed. With each meal is prepared with loving care by the award-winning chef. So here the sentence, although it has taken the passive form, thus basic things of the sentence has not been changed, neither the tense nor the meaning. Now let us analyze the examples. In that example, the active sentence that is given, the subject is, simple subject is chef and prepares is the verb. The chef prepares each meal with loving care. What does it happen in the passive sentence? Meal is the simple subject and is prepared is the verb. Each meal is prepared by the award-winning chef. In effect, the object of the active sentence becomes the subject in the passive sentence. Here, a change of position is being made. When you change the sentence from active to passive, the subject and the object changes their position. And in the active sentence, the subject and object are in its place, and in the passive sentence, the subject becomes the object. Although both sentences have the same basic components, their structure makes them different from each other. That is what I have been telling, that although you change the sentence from active to passive, the components remain the same. The difference is that it changes the structure. And now let us check some of the rules of changing the voice. What should you do in order to change the voice of a sentence? Subject should be placed in place of object, and object should be in place of subject. So when you change it from active to passive, as I have told you earlier, subject becomes the object and the object becomes the subject. Next rule is by is used with a noun or a pronoun for showing doer. So what you use is by with a noun or a pronoun. We can change voice of only a transitive verb, that is a verb with an object. So we can change the voice of a verb that is accompanied with an object. We cannot change voice of an intransitive verb, that is verb without an object. So without an object with the verb, we cannot change the voice. So these are the things that we need to remember when we change the voice of a sentence from active to passive. What do we do in passive voice? Use the passive voice to call attention to receiver of the action rather than the performer. For example, the professor was hit by 3 snowballs. Next, point out the receiver of the action when performer is known or unimportant. Example, a love letter was slipped under the door. Next point, Avoid calling attention to the performer of the action. For example, the fines will be collected on Monday. Now, active and passive voice in writing. The choice between using the active or passive voice in writing is a matter of style, not correctness. However, most handbooks recommend using active voice, which they describe as more natural, direct, lively, and succinct. The passive voice is considered wordy and weak, except when used in cases above. Examine the following sentence examples to understand. Weak passive. The skater was slammed into the wall by Mary. Strong active. Mary slammed the skater into the wall. Weak passive. The book was enjoyed by me because the events of her childhood were described so well by the author. Strong active. I enjoyed the book because the author described the events of her childhood so well. So this is how we, in some cases, as I have talked to you at the beginning, that in academic writing, active voice is preferred more because it is considered to be simple and natural and direct. So in some cases passive may apply, but mostly in case of academic writing, in writing, active voice is preferred. Now, in English, the verb form which indicates whether the subject, person or object of a sentence do something or something has been done on the subject called voice. So that is voice. When you speak about the action being done with a subject and an object, then it is called the voice. Voice is that form of a verb which tells us whether the subject does something or has something done to it. So it is about the verb. The verb tells whether the subject has done something or something has been done to the subject. So that is all for today. Thank you for listening.